Ministers, as I understand it, Ermakov was a member of the REvil hacker group. Now, is that correct for a start? Yeah. Now, under pressure from the US government, the FSB in Russia raided REvil and arrested a whole stack of fellows. I understand Ermakov wasn't among those. So what use is these sanctions going to be, given that REvil is still in activity as we speak?
Yeah, so I might say a little bit about that, and I might invite Abigail Bradshaw to come forward and speak a little bit as well. So we know that there are a number of Russian cyber gangs that are at the heart of the threats that Australians are faced with. The Australian Signals Directorate and the Australian Federal Police are very focused on disrupting the work of these gangs, and they have enormous success in doing so. We know a lot about the people who are trying to harm us, and the sanctions that are being put in place today are just a part of the suite of efforts that we're undertaking in order to try to debilitate these groups. Part of the work that is happening globally is really important to this. The Deputy Prime Minister talked about the close collaboration we have with the FBI, with GCHQ in the UK, with other organisations around the world. What I've seen, even in the time that I've been Cybersecurity Minister, is closer and closer collaboration day by day in working out who is behind this and debilitating them before they can harm Australians. So why don't I get Abigail to come forward and just elaborate a little bit more on that?
Thanks, Minister. Thanks for the question. Well, REvil is only one of many Russian cybercriminal syndicates, and those gangs we know are dynamic and have multiple partners. So a disruption of REvil at one point in time doesn't cease its business. We know a lot about Mr Ermakov through our analysis, and what we do know is that cybercriminals trade in anonymity. It is a selling quality, and so naming and identifying with the confidence that we have from our technical analysis will most certainly do harm to Mr Ermakov's cyber business.
The practical effect is, given that he's clearly in Russia, we can't get at him, how will it affect him?
Well, I think Abby's probably answered that question in that, as Abby's just said, cyber criminals' calling card is anonymity. Alexander Ermakov no longer has that. We have named him for the first time globally, and his identity now being completely plain is on display for every agency around the world, but also anybody who is seeking to operate with him. So this will have a very significant impact on Alexander Ermakov.
I would just make the point, the second part of the sanction that I referred to is financial sanctions. So it would be an offence, including to use or deal with his assets, including through cryptocurrency wallets or ransomware payments, or to provide assets to him. So there's obviously a financial consequence, as well as the point that Ms Bradshaw made.
Questions for Minister O'Neill and Ms Bradshaw. On the prevention of future cyber breaches. Last year, there was a Cyber Hub's pilot program review that found that particular program would not lead to significant uplift to prevent a Medibank-style data breach. What cyber uplift activity is ongoing in the APS and across government to prevent future Medibank-style breaches? And in the cyber strategy, it said that the cyber coordinator would be leading those efforts, supported by an office in Home Affairs. What is the composition of that office, and has that work been delayed with the changes with the cyber coordinator?
Okay, thank you. So uplifting Commonwealth cybersecurity is a major feature of the government's work, and that is because when we came to office, we didn't have any real tools in place to make sure that the Commonwealth Government is doing the things that we ask of business. We impose plenty of cyber requirements on major Australian organisations, but no one holds more sensitive data about our citizens than the Australian government. So this is, as you would be aware, a core prong of the nation's new cybersecurity strategy. And for the first time, the Australian government will start to impose on government departments and pieces of government the same requirements that we put on business. This is not a small task. As any large organisation would know, the biggest cybersecurity issue that a lot of us face is IT infrastructure, which is ageing. That's not going to stop us from addressing the problem. And the Australian Cybersecurity Strategy has a very detailed plan about how we're going to go through this work. You're correct that the Cyber Coordinator has a very important role in this. We have Hamish Hansford acting in that position at the moment. Nothing about the Cyber Coordinator's work has been delayed as a consequence of personnel changes there. I can certainly assure you of that. The Cyber Coordinator has a dedicated team that sits beneath that position within the Department of Home Affairs. The position is well resourced for the job that's available. And I just remind you all, we didn't have a cyber coordinator under the former government. We didn't have a cybersecurity minister under the former government. So for the first time, we're actually going to tackle this task head on. But I just want people to understand this is a big one. The Australian government is a very large organisation. Our security is not where it needs to be. And this is going to be a big focus of our efforts this year.